Hi, it's Dwyer, digitalassetlife.com, a free site. Also, uh, always 1776.com, a free site. Today is October 18th, 2025. Please pay close attention to the date because some of the information I'm going to provide here is time sensitive. Nothing I say in this video should be construed as investment advice. I want everyone watching this video to do their own due diligence. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. If I mention a crypto or a stock in this video, your operating assumption should be that I either own it already or may be interested in owning it in the future. Trust no one, including me. Now, let me lead by saying I am not a Bitcoin maximalist. That's very important to realize up front. Right? Let me also point out, too, that there is a paywall to what I'm going to say. This video is free, but I do have a Substack page. I have had it for years, right, with paid subscribers. It's Dwyer70905.substack.com. Again, it's Dwyer70905.substack.com, right? And the people there know that while I own Bitcoin, while I'm bullish on Bitcoin, I don't even believe that Bitcoin is the proof of work crypto with the best upside in the very long term. Right now, let's talk about a development in the crypto world, though, that gives it a decided leg up on its competition. Right? You have to think about Bitcoin's first mover status. Now, whether or not Lightning Network resolves Bitcoin transactions on chain, whether or not Bitcoin has the transactional capacity of, some of these other coins, just understand that what Bitcoin does have is first mover status. And what that means is that entrepreneurs in the space are going to focus on creating and providing products and services that work with Bitcoin before they consider providing such products and services for exotic new coins that don't have the name recognition and that don't have the use. So, with that in mind, in my real life, when I'm not here online, I operate a small business. And one of the businesses that I interface with that help me process credit card transactions from customers and ACH transactions from customers is Square. Right? I've been with Square for years. Right? You can measure my comments for bias. But as a small business person, right, my business is just a small S Corp. As a small business person, I completely appreciate the way I can send customers online bills using the Square system. The fact that the customer gets the bill in their email account, they can, punch in their credit card information. They can, pay using a credit card, using ACH. I get an accounting of it. I can pull up the Square module online and I can look at the transactions, look at the pending invoices, see who's paid, hit a button, remind those who haven't paid. The point of sale software is very impressive to me. Right? Also, you may have gone into stores, one of my favorite breakfast places here. they operate with Square. Right? So, of course, you're there, you punch in your credit card information, or you can slide your credit card. They have different um, apparatuses that can handle different parts of the transaction. And, of course, the system allows you to even have your receipt emailed to you. So, Square is very impressive. But what people need to realize is that it's owned by Jack Dorsey. And Jack Dorsey is one of the biggest Bitcoin evangelists in the United States. Right? To me, this is the kind of revolutionary who gets things done. Well, folks need to understand that the official rollout takes place on November 10th. Today is October 18th. Right? But on November 10th, Square is going to roll out a platform called Bitcoin Payments. And what Bitcoin Payments is going to allow you to do is to, in a high volume place, right? It can be low volume, but understand this system is capable of high volume transactions. In a high volume place like a coffee house, where it's currently operating, right? They've rolled this out in select locations, but it breaks nationally on November 10th. You'll be able to go to the counter with your QR code from your Bitcoin wallet. And of course, the merchant using Bitcoin payments with people standing behind you in line is going to be able to scan your QR code, do a Lightning Network transaction, and serve you quickly using Bitcoin. Right? Understand, the Square dashboard is going to have an integrated Bitcoin wallet. Folks, what people are going to find out, because public perception is lagging reality. I've used the Lightning Network for several transactions in my own life. What they're going to find out is that this is more convenient than taking out a plastic credit card and having the merchant run it through. Right? Understand too, when you are using Bitcoin, you have a ledger. So you can actually quickly see your transactions. With a credit card, unless I'm online savvy, unless I actually access my credit card account online and keep track of it, I don't have this level of ease and convenience. So folks, what's going to happen is this is going to drop. The word is going to get out fast. You have a whole group of people out there who don't even know that the Lightning Network exists. Right? They may have used Bitcoin 3-4 years ago and thought, wow, the transactional speed is just not fast enough to be commercially viable. What they're going to find out is that with the Lightning Network, folks, the transactions are almost, not quite, but almost instantaneous. Right? What this will lead to, too, is a new world. Right? Let's just think it through. It's going to be a new world where entrepreneurs are going to ask themselves some hard questions, such as, do they want to post their prices in Bitcoin? If a Bitcoin transaction becomes easier to do, and if you've used QR codes, you understand what I'm talking about. In the fiat world, the analogy would be having your credit cards in your Google Wallet. and having your phone with you where, you just wave your phone in front of the credit card machine and it automatically does the transaction for you. Right? But I need for folks to understand, and I don't want to get too deep in the woods here, but unless you're using a newfangled credit card, let's say, a Visa from Absolut, unless you're in that world, I believe this Bitcoin world is going to be completely astonishing to people because they have some Bitcoins on their phone. Or at least parts of Bitcoins, right? Bitcoin now is over $105,000 for crying out loud. But let's say you have, $300 in Bitcoin on your phone. You go to the counter, you just scan a QR code, boom, the transaction has been done, and then at any time during the day, you can just pull up your wallet history and see where you spent money. So I believe what's going to happen is that a group of merchants are going to realize that unlike fiat currency, Bitcoin is deflationary. Folks, this is a huge moment in time, right? And that it's in the merchant's best interest to have falling prices rather than rising prices. So I believe you're going to have more people with price lists that are automated, that can easily be changed, right? Understand, I can just put up a TV screen that operates digitally, and I can have a menu in the store where people show up where I can just change the price. And rather than go backwards, that's what it's going to be viewed as, right? Convert a fiat currency price into Bitcoin. I believe with this Square technology, it'll be the reverse. It'll be what it should be. The price will be listed in Bitcoin. And the Bitcoin price, because Bitcoin is limited to 21 million Bitcoins, because Bitcoin is inherently deflationary, the price is actually going to drop, right? The conversion would be to fiat, but that'll take time. What'll take even more time, because I know there are many of you watching this video who understand that compared to, let's say, Solana, for example, I'll name a popular coin. Solana is faster than Bitcoin. It's on chain. It has certain advantages Bitcoin doesn't have, but it's lesser known. Right? It's lesser known. It doesn't have a Max Kaiser or even a Vitalik Buterin, who's known to the public, who is out there, talking about it. Right? There is no El Salvador for Solana right now. Right? Just understand, in time, as the public becomes acclimated to digital assets, and don't fool yourself, not that many people own Bitcoin. Right? In time, the infrastructure for Bitcoin will lend itself to other cryptocurrencies. But just understand, right now, we're in October of 2025, and I can tell you that in Compass Coffee in Washington, D.C. right now, you have people in line, and you have that merchant using Square's Bitcoin payments. Right, folks? Understand, it's already rolled out in select locations. This system can handle the volume at a McDonald's. Right? Just understand, this could handle online merchants like Amazon. If we get to a point where people understand that they can actually use their Bitcoin as a method of payment in a manner that's, I would argue, not only competitive with credit card transactions, but is actually beyond credit card transactions. As I mentioned, on Absolut, I'll agree, Absolut credit cards, you have the app, you can have the app out as you're using the credit card. I've done that. It works. But unless you're using that level of credit card, some newfangled credit card that has an associated app, you're not going to do better than Bitcoin. And let me also point out, too, that there's a market case for Bitcoin. Right? All you have to do is look at how the dollar is falling versus not only Bitcoin, but gold and silver. Right? You understand the dollar, because of government debt and the incentive to monetize the debt, print a lot of money to debase the currency, so when government has to pay back its debt, it's cheaper. Right? You don't have those adverse incentives to devalue Bitcoin. So what I believe is going to happen in time is that merchants who use Square are going to say, hey, let's add on Bitcoin payments. Right? And once they do that, they're going to realize that pricing their goods and services in fiat currency is backwards. They need to price it in Bitcoin. I understand the American dollar is legal tender in the United States, but you can price it in Bitcoin and say, hey, we'll figure out the fiat currency price if you need us to. Right? Let me go one step further, too. You're going to have a shocker. Not only are you going to have falling prices, the falling prices will happen for the first few years, as you could imagine. But all of these people talking about Bitcoin's volatility, and it's been volatile of late, right? You heard me say that it's above $105,000, but it's not above $120,000 right now, which it was at one point. Right? But what you're going to have is price stabilization with Bitcoin. And understand, over the longer term, as shocking as this is to people, just mathematically, eventually, because Bitcoin doesn't fluctuate in terms of its supply to the extent that, fiat currency does, you're going to have price stabilization. Right? If you go back through history and you look at gold, which you really can't play too many games with in terms of supply, right? I'll agree occasionally some new mine is found and gold does increase slowly over time, more than Bitcoin, believe it or not. But understand, you can go back centuries and equate the purchasing power for gold centuries ago with its purchasing power today. Right? You can go back centuries and say a man's suit cost this much gold then. And guess what? It costs roughly that much gold now. Bitcoin prices ultimately are going to be more durable than fiat currency prices. Right? If you go to fast food places, Big Macs have skyrocketed in price. In fact, you have a Big Mac index, Google that, internationally, that people use to measure inflation. Right? If you have gold or Bitcoin, something with a finite amount, you won't have that level of price volatility long term. The people pointing to short-term volatility are overlooking the fact that digital assets have been with us less than 2 decades. This is the nascent part of the market, the early introduction. In time, it's going to lend itself to a level of stability that merchants will appreciate. Right? There's a reason why Dash, another limited supply cryptocurrency, is still popular in Venezuela, a country rife with hyperinflation. Right? So just be aware that November 10th, 2025, Square's Bitcoin payments goes national. Folks, you're going to be in a Starbucks. Someone is going to have a phone in front of you. You're going to think, okay, is this person about to pay by Google Wallets? You'll be the person standing behind them. The cashier will just scan the QR code and they'll be done. Right? They'll get their hot coffee, or they might be told, if you're a coffee store aficionado, they might be told, hey, your coffee will be at the counter. We'll call your name. Right? But they're going to be served as fast as people trying to pay by credit card. Right? Trying to pay with dollars and coins. Right? Then you're going to see the person look at their phone, and you're going to realize that that person has months of financial transactions in their Bitcoin wallet. Worse yet, their use of Bitcoin might be more secure than your use of a plastic credit card. If someone robs your plastic credit card, particularly if your credit cards are the kind that can, just be scanned, understand they can use your credit card all over the United States before you realize the credit card is missing from your wallet. Understand where Bitcoin is now. Right? You have biometrics. People's Bitcoin wallets are actually protected by their fingerprints. Right? I can rob your phone. Let's say I'm a pickpocket hanging out at, Compass Coffee in Washington, D.C., which has Bitcoin payments. I can pickpocket you, a Compass wallet, have your phone, and be unable to reach your Bitcoin wallet. Right? So in terms of speed of transaction, ease of use, and believe it or not, security, a strong argument can be made that Bitcoin is the better option than fiat currency. It'll go far more widespread than it is right now on October 10th, 2025, when Square's Bitcoin payments point of sale apparatus goes into place. I'm expecting rapid adoption. Right now, this is not to suggest, as my cryptocurrency newsletter subscribers know, that Bitcoin can match some other cryptos in terms of capability. Right? But let's just say Bitcoin, because it has first starter status, because companies like Square, entrepreneurs like Jack Dorsey are targeting Bitcoin. Bitcoin has an advantage and will continue to have that advantage in the near term. Those are my thoughts. Let me hear yours. Please Google Square Bitcoin payments point of sale for more information. Thanks for stopping by.